Life insurance. People are like, life insurance? Yeah, I can do a whole other class on life insurance. Just know that there is a way to do that in life insurance. It's not for everybody. It's not a, do not get your investment advice from certain, what do I want to say this, from social media types on TikTok or Instagram, whatever. It can get really fancy. It can work out great depending on who you are and what's going on. But essentially, long story short, you can put money into this. It can grow tax-free, and you can withdraw tax-free. All right? It's a great way to do it if it makes sense. Not going to get into a whole lot there because it's just too much to cover. We'll be here for another 3 hours, and you'll start falling asleep on me. Health savings accounts. Some people have heard of that. Some people have never heard of that. There's a couple rules around that too. Essentially, it's a way for you to help pay for your medical costs. Right? Because everybody knows it's pretty expensive once you get out there in the world, start getting jobs and getting older, and things start falling apart on you. Right? Some of us have access to a VA, so that makes it a little bit way easier. But your spouse or your kids or whoever may not, specifically your spouse in the case of an HSA. It's a way to save tax-free in there. Whatever you put in there, you do not pay taxes on. Save it, just kind of like a 401k, which we'll get into here too. You can save into it, it'll grow tax-free, and you can withdraw it later tax-free as long as you spend it on medical stuff. Yeah, right. And you can do that the whole time. You can do that the same year you saved into it. There are a couple rules though. You have to have like a high deductible health coverage plan, and then you can get one of these to help you, meet the gap, right? Another thing too, as soon as you hit, once you get old, there's this thing called Medicare. You get enrolled in. The hope is you've been paying into it, taking out what you need, but it's been growing in the market and growing and growing. Now you're 65, getting close to 70, you have this account that you can now help pay for all your medical costs as you get older, right? And it's all tax-free. All right. It has this thing called a 529 college savings plans. Maybe some of you guys probably won't care about that if you don't have kids. You can save into it, it'll grow, and whatever it grows, you're not taxed on any of that growth. You can use it for college. Only for college.
Does it have to be like your child that you save for? Could you set it up for like a niece, nephew?
Great question. Yeah, anybody can contribute to a 529. That's a good question. The only thing I can't change is the beneficiary.
Okay.
So
it has to be that one person.
Yeah. I take that back. You can actually, they made that change. You can actually move it to like if they have a sibling, like say,
okay.
My son wanted to be a rock star, so all that money we saved, I guess we're paying taxes. No, you can move it to if you have a sibling, move it to the next youngest child. Another thing they changed recently, it used to be strictly just for college level, like once you get out of high school. They've now changed it so like as soon as your kid is born, you want to put some money in it because you want to send them to like a good high school or a good elementary or a good junior high. You can use this account too. And the whole family can contribute to it to help you.
For private school?
Yep.
Okay.
So it can't work for public school, but to pay for like a private education before college, you can use it for that too. It's a good question. And anybody can contribute to it. Tax-free mutual funds, ETFs, people have heard this. If they're tax-free, it's probably because they're municipal bond type. They're just a basket of a bunch of different cities, right? Sometimes it's harder, you as an individual investor, to go find a city and get in on the initial offering. Like it's just difficult to do that sometimes. You don't have the time to do that. But you can just buy into a mutual fund that has a whole basket of cities across the country, and you can do it that way. Same thing. Any questions on this so far? Yeah?
So for college saving plan.
I'm sorry, say it again.
So for college saving plan, does it apply for all college or only for private?
As long as it's a accredited college. Like it can't be to like Joe Schmo's College of, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like it has to be like if the VA will pay for it, right? 529 will pay for it. Does that make sense?
So the municipal bonds is only 5% interest, right?
Say it again.
5% interest.
For which one?
Municipal bonds.
There's no. Yeah, I'd say it's less. It's typically a lot less. In the past, like I said, I'd say mid to late 80s, up until about 2 years ago, 1 year ago, even, maybe this year is what I'd say, the interest rate was about, 1, maybe 2% if you're lucky. Now it's ticking up. You can get between 3 and like almost 4%.
And how about the annuity? I know that you skip one, but is it like tax later on or tax free?
You can get them in each one of these buckets. That's a great question. The question was, what about an annuity? An annuity is a insurance product. We're not gonna get too far into that. It's just a different way to save. An annuity is it's a contract between you, the investor, and an insurance carrier, where you will say, ABC Insurance Company, here's $50,000 of my money, right? And I want you to help it grow. And at some point in the future, maybe it's 10 years from now, it's a retirement product. So say when I'm 60, I want to annuitize this, meaning I want to turn this into an income stream for life, right? Based on how much I have. Okay, that's the short version of it. So it's not really about interest. Now you can get an annuity with a fixed interest rate, right? But it's not going to be 5%. It's going to be something.
So it's tax free or it's never tax?
No, it'd be taxable. That would be taxable.
Question about the college savings plan.
Mm-hmm.
So if the child that you're saving for doesn't go to school,
Mm-hmm.
or anything happens, you just have to pay the taxes on whatever you put into it to take it out? Like, how do you deal with the funds that
Yeah.
don't
So
go to a
say
child?
freaking kid wanted to be a rock star, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we've got $30,000 in this account. I don't have another child, so here we are. So you have your basis, meaning what you put into it. Say you put in 20,000. That's all fine. You can pull that out. The growth is where you'd have a problem. It's the $10,000 in growth. That'd be taxable, and there's a small penalty, I believe, too. Yeah, it's not big, but like it's mostly the taxes that you got to deal with. So, because it's primarily for college. So they want people to save. Good question. All right, so I can spend the whole class on this slide, so I'm gonna move forward. There's a lot of rabbit holes to go down. All right, so this is where we want to spend most of our time. Tax later. Meaning, I save into this for now, and it's gonna grow tax-free and grow tax-free. At some point later in the future, I don't want to work anymore, and I'm gonna pull the money out, and then I'll be taxed. Okay, it's tax later. These are all the big ones. I'll go over them in brief, then we'll talk about some rules and stuff. Here's one you won't see very often, and I hope you have this problem though, that you have defined benefit plans, pension and cash balance. Anybody give me an example of what a defined benefit plan or pension is? Like, which one do you know? Eric.
CalPERS.
CalPERS, yes sir. What about us military types? We got a pension?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, depends on when you joined now though.
20 years.
Now, I know there's a certain gentleman in this room, I know for sure when he joined. He had one option. If you stayed in for 20 years, right, you get a pension. In other words, a guaranteed stream of income. You did not pay into it, right? You didn't have to save into it. It's a pension. It's a defined benefit that you have, right? This was mostly the social contract, I would say, that most big employers had since this became a thing, probably around, I'd say 30s, 40s, up until about the 80s, where you work for a company, right? Worked for them for 30 years, retired, give you your coffee cup and watch, and now you got retirement check every month for the rest of your life. My grandparents, my grandma, she's really my aunt, called her grandma. I'm Mexican, it's a problem, very common. Anywho, she worked for Price Fisher, which is no longer around. They made a bunch of faucets and stuff and fittings and plumbing fittings and stuff, and she worked for them for since she since she crossed over, and she had a pension. Grandpa worked for GE, was it? Or some kind of subsidiary, also same thing, had a pension, right? I remember when he retired, he gave him a big old gold watch. Or like, not gold watch, it was like a gold, what do you call them? You know, where you hang them and...
Clock.
Pocket watch.
Pocket watch, like he had like the gold chain and everything, man, he loved that thing, right? He was proud of that. And yeah, they set up, they got medical was part of it, right? Nice, right? Not too shabby, you know? That all changed though in the 80s, where that really started to pick up steam, where they were replaced with this thing called defined contribution. But getting back to the pension, so they're still out there, it's just far and few. It's just expensive for companies to keep, think about it, like they gotta pay you a check for the rest of your life. Like, people are living longer, like, right? So that's a problem for a lot of these companies. It's very expensive. They're still out there though. You'll find them mostly in smaller companies now, where the owner is older and he has not a big workforce. He doesn't have many older employees, and they can put a lot of money into their pension plan that way. So they're still out there. It just doesn't always make sense for people. It's also known as a cash balance. Another way it can be called. This is another way for people who are self-employed or who are business owners to put away money to put much more away than they could in these other plans. It doesn't always make sense though. That's why I say I wish upon you these problems. I wish you invent something or grow something that you have to put so much money away. You got to get one of these other things. That's not most people though. Now, for you guys who would join recently, when did you join? Like
18.
2018. I think you still have the option. I don't know if you remember what options you made. You had to make an option when you joined the military.